This podcast will fail. And that's probably okay. But I could be wrong, so who knows? And here we are on episode 58. This podcast will fail. I'm just some guy. Who I am is completely irrelevant to the conversations that I come here to have with you and with myself. And today, I have another guest. Today, I'm having a conversation with my son, Gideon.
Howdy.
Yeah. Gideon is boy number 2 in this cadre of insanity that I call a family. Mm-hmm. Gideon is 21 years old. So don't drink and drive. And Gideon is currently studying biology. Yes, biology. In an unnamed portion of this state, which I've never told you what state I live in either, and that's okay. It doesn't matter. But Gideon is home for the Thanksgiving holiday weekend and has graciously agreed to join me in a podcast here to round out. This is the end of season 3. This is the final day of season 3. Tell me your story. This is it. This is the end. And this week's question was, what moves you? So I got a lot of answers that were predicated similarly to mine on family, right? You guys, you amazing people, your mom over there who's also amazing, who's sitting in. Hey, baby, how are you? Nice to see you. All right, she has nothing to say. That's fine. That's fine.
We're related.
We are related, yes. So, again, thank you. I appreciate you jumping in and hanging out with your dear old dad for a day. How are you, pal?
Yeah, I mean, I like listening to podcasts, so it's my pleasure, honestly.
I struggle with podcasts. I think it's just a medium that I haven't wrapped my head around yet, and I don't understand podcasts, or I don't understand how folks can just sit there and listen with no visuals for some people literally hours. Like, How much time do you spend listening to podcasts?
Are we talking daily or weekly?
The fact that there's even a measurement there,
right,
kind of half answers the question, anyways.
Right. Well, let's go with weekly. So, I mean, now that you mention it, it feels almost more of a my generation sort of thing that's going on. You see a lot of the audiobooks popping up, and you see a lot of the, podcasts are making a rise now. And before it was radio, and then, in between those two, there was kind of nothing happening. But in terms of a weekly basis, I would say just listening to pure audio podcasts, I would say around 16 hours a week. Yeah, but a lot of it is actually while I'm multitasking. And a lot of people will probably say the same thing too. They listen to it while they're driving. I listen to it while I'm doing homework. It's sort of like a secondary thing, almost like white noise that can get you thinking.
That's an interesting concept to me, because maybe that's where I lack. I don't know that I can divide my attention quite that way. Now, I listen to audiobooks occasionally in the car when I'm driving to work and long commute, and I get that, and I guess I could see that level of multitasking, being able to follow the story while I'm clearly not causing vehicular homicide down the highway. But what is the type of podcasts you listen to? Who do you, I guess, name drop, who do you listen to?
Well, one of my favorites recently is Two Girls, One Ghost. It is a podcast of two girls, and they talk about ghost stories. And also sometimes they talk about true crime stories. That's something that just interests me, leisurely. And so I listen to it as well. Yeah.
See, I guess, and I think what you didn't mention was in the middle. I know that somewhere you said podcasting, but previously was radio, but YouTube was clearly in there. right? And if anything, I guess I almost figured like you guys as teenagers were coming up at the height of YouTube's taking over of the world, essentially. You know?
And you saw YouTube was kind of it's a video sharing platform, and before then, you know, there wasn't viral videos really, like. I don't know. It's just our generation kind of thing. It feels like.
I'm trying to wrap my head around it, and you know, I'll say that I don't think it's just necessarily you, because I do have a lot of contemporaries at work that are in their 30s, right, late 20s, early 30s, that are still the same sort of thing. You know, like your uncle, right? He's big into podcasts too. The one that lives down near where you are. So I maybe I don't. It must just be us Gen Xers, right? It's the old farts here at 45 and older that maybe we have a hard time. Maybe I've got more OCD than I like to think I do. But I personally am enjoying the podcast format. I really am. I spent so long worrying about video quality and setting up the camera angle and the lighting and is the audio good, and do I need to? Jesus Christ, can I just talk?
Right.
And I think that gives me the opportunity to talk. So, but for a long time, and to get into the question of what moves you, for a long time, what moved me was that creative process, to be able to create something out of nothing, right? And I mentioned in the previous episodes this week that you guys are the thing that moved me, you know, in a very literal sense. I moved to want to make sure that I'm providing you some kind of a life, so that you can grow into the man you're becoming.
Yeah, I mean, you've done a good job so far.
Oh, have I? Okay.
I'm in college, live by myself and, you know, a little brother, but...
Okay.
Yeah, I would say that in terms of you know, your passion, in order to do that, you succeeded so
That's
far.
Good. That's good. You didn't starve. You never went to jail.
Yeah.
Never been. Have you been arrested? Have you ever been arrested?
We can discuss that some other time.
No. No, really?
Unless you want to discuss it now.
What? No, actually.
Okay.
I really don't.
That's okay.
Wow.
That's okay.
I wasn't ready.
What a bombshell, huh?
Oh boy.
Starting this off with a biggie.
That's a whole different podcast. Wow. Where was I? Okay, well then let's go for something a little less controversial. Whew, I'm sweating over here.
Is it hot in here?
Check my temperature. Rona. All right, so I want to then get into your head, and I want to understand what moves you, because as your dad, I've always thought and assumed that I know you. Right? You're my baby boy. You've always been like a known quantity to me. But as I've gotten older, and as you guys have gotten older, I have come to understand that I don't know jack. I know the mind of an 8-year-old you and the mind of a 13-year-old you. But now you're a living, breathing, thinking adult human. So this is my chance to kind of get to know you a little bit. It's just crazy to say, but to get to know you a little bit better. So what is the number one thing that gets you going, gets you pumped up, gets you excited? What is it that moves you?
I mean, that's a pretty loaded question, and a lot of people would say that. But I honestly would say the number one thing on the list of a lot of things that motivate me would be trying something new is number one for me. I feel like I'm honestly at my peak almost whenever I'm learning something new, or I'm trying something new out, or I get to experience something new, whatever that may be. New things are very exciting. Very exciting.
I think I saw pieces of that when you were growing up, and probably the two that I can think of off the top of my head, one were computers.
Yes.
As you were getting your hands, and I was so scared for you, that like, because, oh my God, can he do this? Is he going to ruin some very expensive equipment and be mad at himself? Does he? But you've also been always a researcher.
Yeah, you know? I mean, you know me. Whenever I come to you and say, "Don't worry, I've researched this," you always roll your eyes because Yeah, you know how much that means.
Well, but I think you've proved it out enough times, right? You didn't screw up with the computers, and in fact, now every one of your siblings that has a computer is giving you, hey,
I'm the IT guy now in the
knock
family.
knock, I need my IT guy. And then the other one I recall distinctly was yo-yoing.
Yes.
Whew, you fell hard on yo-yoing.
And I still am.
And are you? You still yo-yo?
Yeah. I have yet. I mean, there's a lot of creative videos that I want to make, and they're mostly kind of like big projects like you had talked about. I still yo-yo. I'm still making plans to create videos. I'm not learning anything new with yo-yoing right now. I just do it to relax sometimes. Mm-hmm. But yeah, all my yo-yos are over at my dorm, sitting up on a little shelf. They look good.
And you got a nice spacious dorm too. You guys have a huge dorm.
Yeah, it's ginormous.
I thought it was a 4-person dorm, but I guess it's a 2-person dorm, right?
No, it is a 4-person dorm.
Where would the other 2 beds be?
There's 2 other whole bedrooms.
Is it really?
Yes.
So on the one side by the bathroom, that's your brother, and then on the opposite side is you. Are those bedrooms over by you?
They're actually, well, you remember the living room.
Yeah.
Now that was kind of in the center, right in front of the front door,
right.
And the kitchen was
They've
still
got
left.
a whole freaking living room, by the way.
Yeah, and an entire kitchen with an island.
Right.
If you just go next to our rooms on either side of the living room, there's more rooms.
Oh wow! I didn't catch it when we were in there.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that gives you lots of room to do the cool yo-yo stuff, and go high, go out, go low.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, the ceiling is still made of like that cheap styrofoam crap.
The popcorn.
Yeah. I can't really throw it anywhere I want.
Oh, okay. Got to go outside and do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, trying new things then naturally leads me to want to ask the follow-up question. You said that you're wanting to make videos around yo-yoing, and that's one of those things that's probably on your list. But what is something else other than the obvious? You're in college and you're trying to get a degree learning something that you've always been interested in. But what do you think is the next thing it's itching in the back of your head that you want to learn that you just haven't fully formed that idea? What's been kicking around in the back of the cerebellum there?
Oh, that's interesting. It has to do with that general biology realm, actually, in both the sense that I want to continue learning about biology, but I do not want to continue with education in biology. I'm planning on making a switch towards filmmaking and that sort of cinematography and possibly even directing. With biology specifically, I've noticed that I have much more of a hobby mentality towards it, and that's kind of how I should have been thinking about it from the very beginning anyways, is I like to grow things, I like to learn about the intricacies of our universe, and I like to learn scientific facts even. But I've learned that in a classroom setting, it is the most boring garbage that I have ever had to withstand for my entire life. I don't find any passion behind biology anymore other than I like plants and I like learning little things but not doing homework assignments on it.
Well, and you wouldn't be the first person to, start digging into a particular field of study and get through that first portion of college and go, that's bullshit. I don't want. I remember once you were telling me, the idea of being some type of a lab technician, some type of agricultural career, but it sounds like you're definitely looking to go more creative arts and have that stuff be the hobby on the side.
Yeah, and I mean, in terms of with the hobby as well, talking about somewhat controversial topic here, maybe, but a lot of different areas in the world right now are legalizing what was once thought an illegal substance, which is marijuana, and even some others such as psychedelics. And I've always been, and not always, but recently, I've been extremely interested in growing those. So that's what I'm learning about. In the past month or so, I've been learning a lot of different things pertaining to growing marijuana and also growing other things. And, obviously I wouldn't pursue that unless it was legal, lest, cops come busting down my door and raid me for a single plant that I have in my house.
Right. And I don't necessarily think that that's too far off in the future. It's only a matter of time.
I mean, that's why I've had such a passion of learning about it, is because it's really dawning on me that this is going to be happening very soon. Finally.
But so I don't know, I guess I naturally begs the question, like, is it truly then continuing to be a hobby? Or if all of a sudden our state, which will continue to be unnamed, decides to go along with several of the other ones that have said, no, this is all good, go ahead, do your thing, right? We're not going to bother you. We haven't figured out the DEA yet, but as far as the state's concerned, you're cool. Do you think that truly remains a hobby, or do you see yourself moving into becoming a business owner in that sense?
I could see either way. I could see either me doing it for personal and maybe just sharing with friends, or I could, if it develops further enough, then why not go into the business end of it? It's a very lucrative market right now.
Certainly.
Very.
It's not like there's no saturation yet. I think give it 10 to 15 years, and I think the problem you'll have is you won't be able to break into.
Exactly.
Right? In Colorado, there's some of those first farms are the ones that ended up getting bought out first by big money, and then nobody else you can't get a foothold in.
Yeah, you see Canada right now, they're making billions and billions of dollars. The Canada as a country is, the government. And that's what I think a lot of evidence would be pointing towards. This is going to be like a very, very big thing in the world very soon. You see the states like Oregon, who just recently decriminalized everything. And a lot of people thought that there would be a massive uprising against that, but there really isn't. This is something that I believe that the whole world is going to accept.
Yeah, I think similar to what you and I were talking about on the way home the other day, coming back from college to bring you home. The world, I think, it requires at least one more generation to go quietly into the night before a lot of those barriers to progress will disappear once and for all. For the most part, I think my generation has our head on straight about a lot of it. You guys, once you're ruling the world, I definitely foresee it being a completely different environment than it is right now. So that's interesting. And I don't know though. I feel like I hate to be the one to like put my own head inside yours and think.
Go ahead.
Well, because I think you have a particular personality trait that unfortunately I think you got from me. Because I asked you that question for a specific reason, whether or not you would maintain that as just a hobby, or if you would truly go into some type of a business realm. Because what I figured out, and it took me way too damn long to figure this out, is once it becomes work, I don't want to do it anymore. Right?
I mean, the same thing with biology for me.
There you go.
Right.
I love the thing. I love the idea of the thing. I want to learn about the thing. Oh shit, now I'm bored. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do something else.
Well, I think also another big difference between me and you is you started working at a much younger age than I did. You've been in the work life for a lot of your life. I've been in and out of work, and it hasn't been something that I'm in an environment because of it, or because of you, that I'm able to just sit back and relax and not have to worry about going to work every day. So when I think of owning a marijuana business and I think of myself getting bored with it, then I think of myself, oh, well, there's a lot of money involved, and I'm making a lot of money, and that's kind of fun.
Because the money fund with a D, funds the fun.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
The money makes it possible to do the other things you really want to do, like make yo-yo videos.
There you go, yeah.
And make, I don't know, what, okay, so we'll pivot away from the dirty Mary Jane and peyote and shrooms, and pivot back to the other thing that people have to be inebriated to do successfully, filmmaking.
Right.
Everybody's drunk when they're making films. But talk to me about where you want to go in that space of filmmaking. What does this mean to you? What do you foresee?
That's a funny story, because I don't know if I told you this, or I might have, but I'd been having these thoughts of quitting biology and education in biology for probably since March. And then last month-ish, I started taking these stupid online tests that, you take as a high schooler. Okay. And when you take those, it kind of sorts you into different categories of what job you might be best suited for. And I took a couple of those, a couple of different ones, and a lot of the time it landed on things that had a creative edge to it. I got, like, graphic designer, I got cinematographer, and I even got film director. And that one stood out to me the most, as film director. And I never really saw myself as kind of that person, almost like a leader position in terms of figuring everything out. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized it's not exactly a leader position. It's more like sitting down and writing a book, but you're the one writing the book. And you're not exactly the writer of this story that you're going to tell. Obviously, you see the higher up film directors, they're hiring writers, and sometimes you even have the directors pitching in with the writing. But the director is the one who directs. And that, it just seems like, when I think about film directing, it seems like there's not very many ways that the job could be not fun for me. Even if things go bad, it still would be a creative outlet that obviously not only these internet tests thought I needed, but I think I need.
I can see where, when you put it into that box of a leader type of role, obviously it's very different, I think, because I guess I've always understood it more to be like the conductor of an orchestra.
Yes.
Right? Those people sitting in the chairs with their instruments are not having to be convinced to do their jobs. And I think it's the same way it's got to be the same way on a film set, right? The director's not there to say, all right, Charlie, look, you're doing a good job with these cables. You've been a grip for a year, but I really need you to step. No, it's none of that, right? There's no coaching or any of that other nonsense. It is, okay, you're here to do a job. Here's how I want it done.
Exactly.
The same thing with the actors. It's not like you're trying to pull what you want out of that actor's performance, but they're not going to give you a hard time about it necessarily unless you're dealing with a big name actor.
Yeah. How I always saw it was, you have these images in your head, and you don't know exactly how this image is going to come together, but you're going to attempt to put this image together and create this thing using whatever scraps you have around, basically. And, not to be mean to, actors and stuff like that, and not calling them puppets or anything, but, like, in the end, they're basically the tools that the director uses in order to paint.
I see it. I see it completely. And I think you're seeing a lot of that in some of the things that almost seem like they would be small budget, shoestring on a dime type of productions. For example, I just watched the most recent episode of The Mandalorian, and I've been very much into that show since it came out. But I understand what Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are doing, and I've watched enough behind the scenes videos to see on that smaller scale what it really means to be like almost like a chess master.
Yeah.
Right? Like your opponent is that vision that you need to get that vision on camera and need to get it captured correctly. Your opponent is over there. You just can't see him yet. You can't figure out how to get to him, but you've got all of your pieces. These are your bishops, these are your pawns, these are your everybody. That's an interesting thing to me.
I mean, you talk about Jon Favreau, but one of a more famous director who intrigues me the most would probably be Wes Anderson. You've seen a lot of people talk about this is a Wes Anderson film, or it feels like a Wes Anderson film, or the Wes Anderson.
There's a cat trying to break into the studio right now. Please hold while we allow the cat to come in the room. But please continue with your thought.
Yeah. So Wes Anderson has a very extremely unique style that no other director has tried to recreate, because it is just Wes Anderson. You think these movies, it's Wes Anderson. It's like his personality put onto a film in front of you for you to see. But every single different film is different conceptually. They all still feel like Wes Anderson. And the same thing could probably be said about Jon Favreau. It still feels like Jon Favreau. They all have these personalities.
I agree with that. And that makes me curious because, again, as I said at the outset of this thing, there's aspects of this conversation where I'm getting a chance to now get to know you. And one thing that I have not known about you is that there's a storyteller in you. Now that I say that out loud, that sounds stupid because I do realize I feel like I didn't know, but when I say that,
master.
and you're big into Dungeons and Dragons,
yes,
and you are a pretty dynamic dungeon master from what I've gathered, from what people who have played in your campaigns have told me, and recollecting back to my own experiences playing D&D when I was a kid. So there's a big storytelling aspect to that. Yeah, as a matter of fact, there is. But the question, I guess, is like, what would frustrate me? And again, I'm trying to pilot behind your eyes here. If it were me, if I were you, and I was in that situation, do you think that it's a struggle to go from it's your idea, it's your story, it's your film, it's your baby, and you are crafting this thing out of all these tools. But then there's this point where it shifts now, and you're not hired to tell your own story. You are hired to bring someone else's vision to life, right? You didn't write that script.
Right.
The studio is looking for a certain thing. You don't get to pick the actors. You don't get to make too many script changes. Where does that sit in your thought process? Is that when the fun becomes work?
Not necessarily. I see that more like a challenge to inject my own little pieces into it. Now, it's not about like making the studio like as happy as possible. I have to follow every single little last detail they have. If I put something tiny in there, then that won't affect the overall quality of the film or the actual story being told. But people might still sit there and think this feels like a Gideon film.
Oh, that's got a nice ring to it, actually. Yes, a Gideon joint.
Thank you.
Yes, to make a marijuana reference.
Oh, good one.
Oh, I see. What genre? Because you bring up Wes Anderson, and you tell me that you listen to a podcast about two spooky girls and ghost stories. So are you a horror guy?
Yeah. I mean, you already guessed it. You saw where it was going, but I'm not necessarily thinking horror. I'm thinking more of just screwing with people's heads. I want people to think things that I want them to think, and I want them to feel things that I want them to feel. And so far, I've done that quite successfully as a dungeon master. I've caused one of my players to legitimately cry over just my words. There's nothing in front of them but a piece of paper and me. And I've caused them to cry over a fictional story. And that feels good as hell.
For those who are experiencing this in audio format only, I'm grinning ear to ear right now because there's a delicious little evil in your eye just then when you said that. Like, oh, this bastard's mean. Look at it. But not. No, you're not a mean person.
But I want people to think that.
But you've got that ability to. Oh man, it's almost like, what's that? It's like a sociopath.
Yes.
Functioning sociopathy. But I like to think I am one in myself. I just don't express it very often. So that's intriguing, right? I didn't know, but again, I didn't know that about you, but I did. I didn't, but now I did. Like you're filling in all kinds of little gaps in my portrait I have of you, your character sheet in my
yeah.
my
I mean,
head.
it's like the world's longest Mad Libs.
Just a living, breathing Mad Lib.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got one thing that kind of moves you is this field of study around specifically. I hate the word. I hate to go pivot for a second, but I'm so sick of the word marijuana. It's such a bullshit word. It's cannabis, right? Marijuana is a derogatory racial slur that was put on top of the plant in order to make an association that would play on people's biases. So it's cannabis. It's not marijuana. It's cannabis. Okay.
Cannabis. Yep.
Sorry, I had to go pivot on that for a second. But so the idea of studying and learning how to be your own little Zen biology, almost like what are those, the bonsai master of your particular plants.
Which I own a bonsai.
Yes, you do. I knew getting you that bonsai. Is that thing still alive though?
Yeah, its leaves have fallen off because it's the winter.
Oh,
it's
okay.
getting slightly colder, and it's kind of. I don't really have much temperature control in my dorm, unfortunately.
A concrete box. You can't control the temperature very
It's
well?
only a community college. You can only ask her so much.
I gotcha.
I get like a high of 72. That's it. I'm not even kidding.
Hard to do with humidity. We got that, and then we've talked a little bit about filmmaking. And it's this creative, which again, near and dear to my heart. You've known, you've watched me for the last 5 years with my dumbass ideas on how to film things and make videos about what I don't know. I'm just making videos.
That's even your failure, not to put you down, but it's inspired me to continue pushing through what feels like failure over and over and over again. You've done it.
Right.
If you can't do it, I'm the same blood as you. Why can't I do it? Just keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Give me one more. What's one more thing? Because I think I know what the third thing is that moves you.
Third. Or our second.
No, we had the growing.
Oh yeah.
And we had the filmmaking.
Yeah.
So give me one more. What's one more thing that moves you? I think I know what it is. I'm gonna see if I guessed right.
Well, considering I'm trying to grasp at straws right now because I had like a theoretical list in my head, but I didn't get past 1 and 2. What would motivate me? I mean, an easy one would be money, but that wouldn't really be true. I think it still sort of ties into what I mentioned earlier when you said I had that sugar honey iced tea eating grin on my face. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to swear.
Wow. Not in front of your mother, young man. The fuck do you think you are?
Exactly.
Sorry.
That confirms it.
She just raised her eyebrows.
Is to make people feel things.
Okay.
I just want to leave something, whether it be with just you guys and my siblings, that they might remember, or even the whole world. Who knows? What did you think it was?
I was going with music.
Interesting.
Music, because you've always been out of all your siblings, you are the one that would come up to me and want me to listen to a song.
Yeah.
You're the only one that has ever done that. And
now, actually, because you might be right in the end anyways, you know why I went up to you and showed you those videos is because they had an impact on me. They made me feel something, so right. I wanted you to feel that thing.
You wanted to see, does this move him, or anybody for that matter, it doesn't have to be your dad, anybody at all, dude, check out this song.
Yeah. Because
I want them to get goosebumps on their arm the way I did the first time I heard this thing.
Yep.
Because that's a big one for me. Music, and I didn't get to it this week, but that's a big one for me, is that right song with that, just that right tempo and that right riff that just lights my soul on fire. Like, and it doesn't happen very often. But that's one of the interesting things I've always known about you, is like there's certain pieces of music that just make you bounce a little in your seat, and I've always gotten a kick out of that when Gideon finds a song that really just lights him up.
Yeah, and I mean I could count on my fingers those songs exactly that have made me feel that that you've witnessed firsthand most likely. And it still continues to happen. I still...
Bullet for My Valentine, Heart in Hand.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
I knew that one.
Yeah, and it still continues. Have you heard of noise music? Or specifically also vaporwave?
So, that came across my field of vision recently, and I didn't grasp it, but I something came across something I was reading. Take me in there.
So noise is kind of like the deepest part of that ocean that you can tread, but vaporwave is like an art, almost. It's less like music, but that feelings, those feelings that you have felt and I have tried to make you feel, and I have felt, is so much weirder with vaporwave. And vaporwave is also an extremely loose term. It's more or less, I barely know how to even describe it. The music is more like watching a film, but the film is silent, and that's kind of hard to wrap your head around.
Is it like, is it? I don't know. I'll probably end up looking it up just now because now you got me curious. Is it sort of just like a less is more, sort of just creating a sound environment in the quote unquote song?
Sometimes, yes. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I could go into like an extremely niche category. Ocean grunge is a type of vaporwave that was invented specifically to scare people with thalassophobia. Thalassophobia is a fear of deep, dark waters. Ocean grunge is meant to emulate the ocean, and the music that comes out of it is not like, it doesn't sound like grunge. It sounds like when you're listening to it, you get emotions of like angry and scared and dark and cold and lifeless and the unknown when you listen to ocean grunge. And the same is with a lot of different categories of vaporwave. You even see, would be another example. I don't have another example.
That's okay. That's fine.
So many.
Work around that. So let's lightning round it. Let's lightning round it a little bit. We got these top 3 kind of things, right? Mm-hmm. And we covered those in fantastic detail. Mm-hmm. But see if you can riddle off the next 5. What are the next 5 things on that list?
Food, my girlfriend, you guys, my family, my own self-interest to better myself would probably be a big one. And lastly, I think I would probably go along with leaving a mark. Yeah.
You want to be remembered.
Yeah. Doesn't anybody?
Well, yeah. But no, not. You know what? I know plenty of people. I know people that have been perfectly happy in obscurity and wish to stay there. I don't. Mm-hmm. Not everybody has that desire and spark to create anything other than continued existence for themselves and safety and success on a small scale. They don't want to be known or remembered. So that I think that it's just one of those things that sets you apart from a lot of people is you do dream, right? And you do desire better, right? I've always seen you as someone that wants to do better and be better and create better. And I've seen you a lot of times as almost like an innovator of things. Like you see an idea and you think, I could do that better.
Always.
Yeah.
It feels like a curse almost, because I'm always uncomfortable. I gotta do this better. I gotta do that better. Why can't I fix this? You know? There's always this need. It's not even a drive, it's a need to keep me going, is to just make everything around me, no matter what it is. And that's why I learned so many different things all around me. It's just the most useless crap, like yo-yoing. Like, sure, maybe sometime down the line I might be able to make a viral video on yo-yoing, but like in the end, like I'm gonna look at that and be like, I can do better. Always, no matter what.
All right, so let's see. Is there anything else while I've got you in the hot seat? Is there anything else I want to drag?
What do you want to know about me?
What do I want to know about you? What
about the time I got arrested?
Let's see. We're at 42-ish minutes. So
are we?
We are. Isn't that cool?
Oh my
it's like
God.
The longest podcast I've done. This is cool.
Nice.
This is good. Anyways, here's what I want to know. Here's my lightning round. What is your earliest memory, period? How old were you, and what is the first thing you can actually recall?
I have no idea how old I am in this memory, and I hang on to this one pretty hard. I've told Mom about this, I believe, but all I remember is it was me, you, Mom, and Spencer, and we were on the top of some sort of parking garage. Mom was holding me, so I was clearly not young enough to walk, or not old enough to walk, but I somehow still remember this, and Mom points at something, and I look out to my left over like a garden area, and I'm not sure where it was, but I see vines along the side of this parking garage, and I see lots of green, and another building that's also taller than the parking garage. And that's all I remember.
Wow.
Yeah. Very, very young memory.
But sounds like a very vivid memory.
Yeah.
For the age.
I could probably paint it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll have to get with your mom. I have no idea. Do you have any idea what that was? Do you know? Ooh, mom's the special guest star.
I thought of something, but you were older. You weren't a baby. You were older. But it's when we went to visit Albany, and we were walking around the city. There's a part where it pretty much looks like a parking garage, like the very top, and there's a wall, and you could look down.
Yeah, I remember the wall.
It looks like a garden or courtyard or something.
Yeah. I mean, that might be it.
Shoot, I do remember that.
Oh, jeez.
Is that when we went out there because one of your friends online as well? Like, we went down there for some specific reason.
You went there for like a meeting or something.
I had to for work.
I had a friend that an online friend that lived in the area, and she met us there and did like a walking tour with us.
Okay. Oh, how cool!
You would have been. Let's see. Lincoln was baby, like.
I remember being in your arms.
Be in your arms then, if that's the time, because you wouldn't.
That's what I'm saying. That's the only thing I can think of, but it's the timing is off because you were older. You must have been.
Maybe it was in Cleveland. Maybe it was in Cleveland.
I have another memory from Cleveland specifically that I remember.
Okay.
I remember I was playing with a bouncy ball, and we had some sort of disgusting chair that's kind of almost the same one that I'm sitting in right now, but bigger. It was a recliner, and it was pushed up against the corner of a white-walled room. And my bouncy ball had bounced behind it in the corner, and I had kind of like, how how do I describe this? Like, I put my body into that corner, face down.
I remember that.
Yes. Yep.
I remember that.
Yep.
Oh, I remember running in the room and you're flailing and screaming, and I'm like,
sticking out from the back.
Look, where the hell is he? And then I see your feet up in the air like a gonk droid from Star Wars or something.
And I did remember being scared.
I'm sorry, we shouldn't laugh.
No, it's okay.
Oh my God.
That you would have been. That would have been
18 months? No, well, probably 24 months, something like that. That's
yeah, at the most. It was the house we lived in before your brother was born.
Well, that was the year 9/11, right? 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was that shitty house in West 150th Street in Cleveland. Suck it, Cleveland, you suck.
Yeah. I have enough memories to know that Cleveland sucks.
There's no redeeming memories of Cleveland. Okay, Donato's Pizza. Yo, Donato's, sponsor this podcast if you ever come across this and happen to hear it.
Send us a coupon.
Oh, we gotta go back and get now. Damn it! Now we gotta go to Cleveland so we can get Donato's Pizza again. God damn it. The zoo was okay. We did it like 17,000 times though. How many times are you gonna go to the same damn zoo? Hey, look, it's that same stupid monkey.
Hey, going to the zoo often probably sparked my interest in biology. So, this is your fault.
Sorry.
Monkeys growing marijuana plants.
Yes. Wait.
Okay.
That's smart. No. We're not Joe Rogan.
I don't want to be Joe. I want his listenership, but I don't want to be Joe Rogan.
Right.
What is the earliest thing you can point to when someone asked you when you were young, what do you want to be when you grow up? What was that stupid pipe dream that the little kid you said, when I grow up, I'm going to be an astronaut or whatever it is?
I mean, you probably remember. Do you?
I'll remember. I know I'll remember it once you say it out loud.
I have a memory of me in middle school wanting, or maybe even in elementary school, me wanting to be a pro snowboarder.
Yeah. Well, I think part of me still thinks you were going after that anyways. I know you're not. I know you never really got as many opportunities to snowboard growing up as you really deserved. We just never were able to pull it together for you.
Yeah.
But now, man, the area you live in is lots of hills and mountains and stuff. So
yeah. I mean,
there's got to be more.
I'm planning on saving up to get a season pass for one of the mountains nearby.
Good. What is? Ooh, let's go. Let's turn it to a different direction. Give me an early. No, you just kind of did a dark memory. Like, give me. What were you afraid of growing up? Let's get deep.
Yeah, so I remember one night having an extremely bad nightmare about I was pooping in the upstairs bathroom, sitting on the toilet, and you know that vent that's to the right of the toilet on the left side of the door, underneath the light switch?
Yeah.
I saw a whole bunch of crabs and lobsters come out of that vent, and then I woke up screaming and crying. And for a couple years, and Mom might remember this, I was terrified of the upstairs bathroom. Remember that?
We used it downstairs.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was terrified of the upstairs bathroom.
That's a deep cut. That's very interesting.
A weird cut.
That is a weird cut, but that's the kind of thing. Having an anonymous podcast like this lets me do pretty much whatever I want because there is no expectation and it doesn't freaking matter. It is what it is, and it's interesting to me and it's interesting to us. So,
exactly.
He really does eat a lot of crab and lobster when he can. Seafood? What's your favorite food? Is it still seafood?
No, it'd still be soup.
Oh, duh.
Soup. Yeah, soup.
This kid eats soup. Oh,
yeah.
Good Christ, this kid.
Which, I mean, seafood goes great in soup.
A nice lobster bisque.
Exactly. Sometimes at the dining hall at school, they'll have clam chowder. I'll get that every time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be a little sketchy.
I don't care.
Oh. What's a little salmonella between friends?
Look, if I'm inebriated in any way, even if it's food poisoning, it's more fun. Which I'm pretty sure I've gotten food poisoning from the school.
I remember, like very early on, you told me you ate some kind of
chicken. It was spicy chicken.
Yeah. There was like, oh no, it was the free meal that they gave you guys when the day we moved in.
Yep.
And they shoved the coronavirus test up your nose,
yep.
and then gave you baggies full of stuff, to go and eat, but for some reason you ate this old chicken that your brother didn't want.
Yeah. Well, obviously he didn't want it. He's vegan.
Right.
But I think it was probably a week old, but it was sitting in the fridge.
Yeah.
And me and Sebastian, we were just sitting down and playing some Super Smash Bros. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to make some chicken and fries. Just take this old chicken, and then the next thing I know, I barfed, like, probably 15 or more times in the middle of the night.
Oh.
It's fun stuff. Absolutely emptied my stomach.
Oh, that's rough. That's rough. All right, let's continue on with this examination of your young self. I just had a good question too, and I started talking like an idiot, and I think I lost the question.
We're talking about food.
I was talking about food. I know you dig the soup, this, that, the other. I think one of the things I want to know is now you are like, congratulations, you're a legit full adult. You've made it to age 21.
Wow.
Right? Woo! Okay.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Look back over these vast years that you have experienced life. Give me a regret. Tell me one thing about your childhood that you regret.
That I ever hung out with Sam.
Oh. This
you
kid.
Remember him?
This kid was a scumbag.
Yeah.
And I think that you must have seen someone that you could redeem. I always thought that you were friends with him because you thought that there's value to this guy. He just doesn't see it. That was always the vibe I got from you when you hung out with Sam.
Maybe. The feelings that I get from remembering that was more or less morbid curiosity, that I still definitely have today. But that crowd that I hung out with, Sam and his friends, they're like, you know, like I've done bad things with him. Like, not crazy bad, like, you know, like vandalism bad.
Right.
But, like, for some reason, it felt like I could scratch that itch that I couldn't before. And I mean, before that, I really didn't have a whole lot of friends. Like, that was around the beginning of middle school. And I didn't meet the group of friends that I have now until, like, sophomore year.
Really?
Or no.
Because I thought that the cadre of amigos there, right? The Nate and
Joey.
But doesn't Nate go way the hell back to like second grade?
Well, okay, so the first friend I ever made was technically Abram. Right. And Abram, I'm sorry if somebody digs super far down and finds this mention of you once you inevitably become famous with your goddamn savant with your voice in the saxophone, and you're good looking, but never mind that.
No hard feelings at all, Abram, when you're out there, pal.
Yeah. He was technically my first friend, but it was very weird because I made Abram as a friend, and then there was like almost nothing. Like he was just kind of like a friend, and air quotes, for, you know, audio listeners. I never shared really any classes with him, but like there's also a portion where I just like that didn't bother me for some reason. I don't know why. I was okay with not having friends. But then around middle school, I became like good friends with Sam, and then nearish around the same time, I became good friends with Nate. But Nate, I didn't share many classes with. So I was kind of relegated to just hanging out with Sam most of the time. Nate was more of like an acquaintance until around like 8th grade, where I shared like a lot of stuff with him, and I kind of started to wean myself off of Sam.
So do you think that, this is another callback to something we were talking about earlier, do you think then that morbid curiosity about Sam, so again, this is an individual coming from a real rough upbringing, right?
Yeah.
No family life, no solid unit.
Yeah.
Do you think that that inkling of evil in you, in me, right? That little hint of sociopathy utilized Sam as a way to test the water and see, is this This seems somewhat interesting to me. I wonder what it would be like to be in his space and be like him. Like, was it kind of, let me feel this out and see if I want to be a shit person too.
Yeah, it felt like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, a lot through my life, there's been drastic switches between, how I define myself and who I am and what I act like and things like that. And that was one of them. That was one of those switches that I had just made on the spot. And yeah, it definitely felt like I was kind of just like, let's get into this. Let's mold myself with this clay of like this weirdness and this kind of dark side.
I mean, it shouldn't surprise you to know that I understand exactly, because when I look back at the best friend I ever had, so to speak, that was a lot of it. It was let me fit into this box. It's not a good box.
Yeah.
But it's damn attractive, and there's something about it that makes me feel more than I would feel in the normal course of a life, right?
Yeah.
Because growing up, you weren't a very expressive kid when you were little.
Yeah. You
were always hanging back. You were always quiet. You were the last one to say anything. And this is little you. Like, this is you age 4 to probably 8-ish or so before you figured out who you were, who you wanted to be, and started opening up and started experimenting with life and making friends and everything else. So that's just all very interesting.
I mean, that's funny that you mentioned that too. I still show traits of that. Like, I still prefer to walk behind people.
Mm-hmm.
I still prefer to be the last one to pipe up.
Yeah. You hang back, you watch. People watch.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like at this point, at 21 years old, I know people way too well.
Mm-hmm.
Way too well.
It's
interesting.
You find yourself profiling them in your head. And you start to be able to put the pieces together so that a lot of times, before they've even opened their mouth, you have figured out a whole bunch of stuff. And then, if I'm not mistaken, you get a little dose of validation when you figure out, I was right.
Yep.
I was right about that one.
Yep.
It's interesting, isn't it?
And even another piece of validation when I figure out exactly how to press those buttons that they like being pressed on for those people. And you've said, I remember distinctly, you said to me before that, and I'm not sure if it was to me directly, and I'm not sure if I'm getting the quote exactly right, but something along the lines of, Gideon is the most sly motherfucker I've ever met in my life.
I could very well have said that.
Yeah.
I have a notoriously bad memory.
Which I don't take as an insult, by the way. I take that as a definite compliment.
That's good.
I am a sly motherfucker.
Okay, last thing, and then we'll close up this shop here. So I think if we want to take this nice big batch of an hour, because we have covered a whole bunch of really interesting ground.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you so much, for sitting down and giving me the opportunity to have this conversation with you. I think we will revisit that when you got arrested conversation another time. It's fine. We don't have to go there today. That's okay. But I think what I get is, and I think you said it perfectly a little ways back, is what moves you is creating a feeling.
Yep.
Right? Is getting somebody to feel something.
Yep. And
you're the one that got them there.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. I dig it. All right. Well, that is going to wrap it up for this. You have hopefully sat for an hour with me and my son Gideon. Thank you, Gideon, for your time and your insights.
Of course.
Very good. And we'll end it there. That's going to wrap up season 3. I will be back on Monday with the beginning of season 4, and I have no idea what the hell I'm doing in season 4. I make this shit up as I go along.
Me too.
But I will be there. I'll have something, and that'll do. Thank you, everybody out there. If you took the time to listen, I appreciate you very much. And wherever you are, hope you have a good one.
If I ever become famous, this is all satire. All of it.
He's so full of shit right now.